And so I want to talk a little bit about what flipped teaching is, because it's such a buzzword right now, and I get so concerned about being in the newest phase and the newest fad, and how do we address that, and what does it look like? And it's so great to speak with you at a conference that has to do with innovation, because if I could define it one way, flipped teaching is a new way to deliver content, but we have to get to the heart of the matter, and I love the speaker who was before us because he was exactly what I'm going to say now. Because I'm really questioning every day, what is innovative teaching? And this has been my aha moment. This is what keeps me up at night. And this is a little bit about my background of where my training is. I started with strategies that work in the cognitive thinking strategies. And then I went on to be a Google certified teacher. And then I worked with laptops in a computer lab. And then my newest thing that I've been doing is bring your own device to school, and we've been using iOS devices. And which one of these made me an innovative teacher? And a lot of times we look at technology and think, she's so innovative, look what she's doing. Really what made me an innovative teacher was what I started with strategies, the cognitive thinking strategies. Because what it comes down to is your pedagogy. It's what you're doing with your students. You can use any tools you want to use, but it all comes down to what you are doing with your students. And I'd love to think of it in easier terms as it's the mess of discovery. This is where innovation happens. And I have to remind myself of that every day. And this is the part that scares me all the time. This was a lesson that evolved from, when you're in the textbook and you're trying to teach what a plane is. It's so abstract, and it's so, I just kind of skip it. I'm like, oh, it's just a vocabulary word, memorize it. This evolved from the textbook to the toothpicks and chickpeas, and it went one step further. We dunked them in bubbles. That, to me, is innovative. It's self-discovery. It's inquiry-based learning. And it was messy, and it was awesome. The aha moments happened because of that. Every day, we have to ask ourselves this. If we truly want innovative education, this is the question to be asking when I'm using technology. What is it I can do now that I couldn't do before? The essential question we need to ask ourselves more and more often. I push myself every day with this lesson. With this question. So I want to talk about flipped teaching and how I'm trying to make flipped teaching a tool that I use, a teaching method that I use to make my classroom innovative. Because it's not the flipping that makes me an innovative teacher, that's for sure. It's the flipping that allows me to be an innovative teacher. And I think it really sums up with my pal Ramsey Musallam. To make the homework experience more meaningful, to make the classroom experience more meaningful at the same time. So here's what it was before I was flipping. This is what my cycles of learning look like in the classroom. It might look familiar to you. Step one, I explained the lesson. At the board, I got really innovative when I was on the computer and the overhead projector and projecting it. Step two, apply. You assign some work, and it typically would go to homework. Step three, assess. It could be in a project. If I was getting really innovative, it was a cool hands-on project, or most likely it was a test, because I had to prepare students for a test. This is what it looks like now. This is the cycle of learning that I follow now. We start step one with explore. We start step two with explain. Step three is apply. Now, Bloom's taxonomy. We know that this is where we want kids to be, up at the create, evaluate, analyze. This is where they're going to make the most gains in their learning. And yet, most often, I was spending my time with understand, explaining a concept. That was the explain. That's where I am with explain. Now, here it is in the cycle of learning. Explaining is the understand and remember. Explore is the evaluate, analyze, and the apply. Look at where we are in Bloom's taxonomy when it comes to apply. And yet, it was the apply I was sending home. And it was the explain, the lowest levels on Bloom's taxonomy that I was wasting all my class time doing. This was eye-opening to me. I wanted to do the craft of teaching that I love so much in the classroom, doing the explore and the apply. This is the piece that you want to do in groups with people to collaborate, to communicate. You can't do that at home alone, and the poor parents having to try to help their students do the apply at home. No wonder they were frustrated with homework. So here's what a classroom looks like now. In class, we do the explore. We start a lesson with explore. At home, we do the explain, the flip. This is where they do they watch the videos at home. So they learn a concept at home. And then in class, We apply that knowledge. Now let me give you something concrete so you can understand what I'm talking about with this. The explore piece to my lesson. I was trying to teach how to add decimals, 5th grade content standard. So the explore piece, I pulled out all of our math manipulatives, all the coins and the dollars. It was great, they were everywhere. It's a big, huge mess. And I got kids together and I want you to team up with someone and I want you to pull all your money together and I want you to count how much you have all together. So simple. And so they started to count their money and they go, hey, we have, $56.32. Oh, okay. You're adding decimals. All right, you're adding, decimals and stuff. The explain piece, they went home that night and they watched a video I created. This is a sample of the video I pen cast. They watch it on YouTube, and it explained how to line up the decimal and add decimals and compute them. That's what you would see on a standardized test. Okay? Some kids knew that already. They already knew how. Some kids did not know that. They do not line up the decimal. They have terrible handwriting. They could watch that many times if they wanted to. The apply piece to this was, they came in the next day, I handed them takeout menus. I had waiters and waitresses, I had cashiers, and we did restaurant math. Everyone got to order something off the menu, fill out their bill, and add up their bill, and my advanced kids figured out the tax and the tip. We squeezed in that lesson that day, how to make change. Do you know what a lesson that is, how to make change? Do you know how much I never had time to teach that in class? Because I offloaded that instruction of how to line up the decimal, boring, they could figure that out in like 10 minutes. We got so much more in. I had some aha moments that you cannot believe. I had a student come up to me and say, it's so weird. When I add decimals, you go from right to left. But you know what? When I was counting money with my partner, I start with the largest bills and go down to the coins. Number sense is an amazing thing. This is how my flip class is organized. We have a website. You can see I did really well in math. I have lots of math. It's easy to start with flipping your math lessons. Very concrete. And I'm trying some other subjects. I had a web page and they would go to it and first they would watch the video. Here's the key to it though. You want to talk about, are they doing it? How structured is this? We would fill out a Google form. So after they watched the video, they'd fill out a Google form, which is an amazing tool to use. And they would answer a few questions. And they also said, Ms. Highfill, you need to leave a comment box because we'd like to leave you some comments about what we thought of your video. It's hilarious. So this information comes directly to my computer in a spreadsheet. And look at this spreadsheet. Instantly, I can see who's getting it and who's not getting it. You can see, it's so quick. Talk about grading papers. I can instantly see, I need to work with so-and-so tomorrow because they were having some difficulties with this. Or so-and-so's getting them all right, I can move them on. The comments are the best. I've sort of forgot what to do when the number outside of the house is smaller, like you have to divide it by 2-digit numbers with the number, This was a nice video. It was really clear and it went slow enough for me to follow. It's kind of fun to see what they have to say. So why flip your lessons? You can learn at your own pace. Rewind, pause, fast forward. Groundhog Day dilemma. Have you ever had that? Where you teach the lesson one day and you come in there like nobody has any idea what you just taught. And I go back to the video and watch it. I can clone myself. It's differentiated instruction at its best. It really reaches all learners this way. It allows you to restructure your class time. That is the innovative part, I think. If you're looking, me flipping is not innovative. It's what I do with the time that I now have. And I'll tell you what, flipping was not the hard part, learning how to make videos. What's hard is I have to fill all that class time with amazing activities, but that's the craft of teaching. That's the joy of teaching, because I get to pull out all my manipulatives and do this amazing stuff. That's where the innovation lies in the instruction. It comes down to my ability and what I do as a teacher. It's the messy stuff. It's rethinking homework. My videos take 10 minutes, and I have all that higher level thinking in the classroom. It's a great review for tests. When it comes time for standardized tests at the end of the year, I've got a whole collection of every lesson I've ever learned. I don't take class time to be getting ready for STAR testing. The kids do it on their own time. And parent participation. I love it, I have a parent in the audience today. It's great because parents see what I'm teaching. They can't, when you go home and you help your child doing homework and they say, that's not the way my teacher taught it. Well, now parents know exactly what I'm talking. And so they are partnering with them in their learning. So I'd like to pass on to my teaching partner who does flip teaching in another very innovative way.
So I'm Nicole Delesio, and I teach just a couple doors down from Lisa. And I'm really proud and honored to be here today. And I'm also honored to see how many people in the audience, familiar faces that I know. And so I teach 4th grade at Fairlands, and this is actually a photo of my class. It was a 1-minute party we had on 12-12-12 at 12-12. So I thought I would include that. But also, before we get started, I always like to question myself before you teach anything or before we approach teaching in general. What is it that we really want for our students? What do we want most? And I think for me, it's not just about things that we want them to learn. Of course we want them to learn, but I want a lot more than that. I want them to want to learn. And I want them to find something that they love. And research has shown that students who find things that they love, something at school that they love, are going to be more successful all across the board. And so that's pretty much what I want most. And I think also one of the things to note is that sometimes it starts with us as teachers. And we want to create lifelong learners and students who love what they're learning. And the same goes for us. We need to find something that we love too. So for me, I think a lot of it is pursuing lifelong learning as a teacher as well. And I got real curious about learning how to edit photos and videos. And I learned to do a lot of that on my own, kind of as a hobby. And at the time I was teaching 3rd grade, and I was teaching Pleasanton history. And one of the projects that I decided to do was to create a video about Pleasanton, because I'm really proud to live there and to be a teacher there, and I also have 2 students of my own. So I created a short video, which I will leave for your reference, about my town, and I showed it to my students, and then I also shared it with other people in the community. And it kind of took a lot of guts to do that, but it suddenly became a popular thing, and a lot of people saw my video, and I realized how powerful that was as it became a community building type of activity. So not only was I teaching students in my class, but teaching other people around the community as well. I actually had people approach me in the street saying, "You have no idea how many people you made so happy because of the video that you made." And it all appeared on the cover of our newspaper and on the video, and I even met our superintendent that way. So I made a lot of friends in our community. So I think we need to lead by example and to pursue our own things. And I think also you have to find ways in teaching to integrate in the things that you love along with all the other topics that we're teaching. And the other thing too is that I started to create videos, and in order to remember the things that I had learned, I started creating videos almost for myself, and I started posting them. And then I heard back from other teachers around the world who had seen my tutorials and had used it with their own students, and then shared projects with me that their students had made. And I thought, wow, how powerful is that? And I really started to understand the concept of the authentic audience. And we're no longer, limited to just the students in our classroom, but so many more people, and we can learn and teach from each other as well. So the other thing, also, there's so many different ways that you can do flip teaching, and one way that I do it is in a form of a classroom website. And I think also a lot of times we as teachers, we're more curators, and we want to teach students how to learn. We want to create ways that they can learn themselves, because sometimes the most powerful things that you learn are things that you've taught yourself and you've learned on your own. So we kind of curate information for them on our website, and kind of going back to what Lisa was saying too, the parents can see what we're doing, and some of the kids, they don't always remember things that they learned the first time around. Does that happen to anybody else here? So they can always go back for reference and replay it and that kind of thing too. And I can post everything that I'm doing on there. The other thing too is that what I like to do as a way for students to demonstrate their learning is to create student e-portfolios. So I do create tutorials and videos for them to watch, and they don't always have to watch them at home. They can watch them at school too, and they can watch them at any time. We have access to computers in our classroom, but not always for everybody every minute of the day. So it doesn't always all have to go at the same time. And the other thing too is that I want students to be able to work at their own pace. And you know, going back to me saying I want them to want to learn, they can go back and do more and they can add more. And we're also talking about ways to demonstrate learning. You know, the whole ABCD game with the testing doesn't work for all kids. So if they can creatively demonstrate their learning of any subject area in a technology multimedia project, even better. And also I'm going to leave links for that too. So each of my students have a web page where they present some of their work. And I give them all kinds of choices too. I think choice is really important. And I show a lot of different things to them, and then they can do with it what they want. And they can demonstrate their learning in a different topic. You know, for example, in the olden days, we would give them a writing assignment, and they have to write on a piece of paper and hand it into the teacher. The only person who's going to see it is maybe me. So how much effort do they think that they might put into it? If they're going to take that writing assignment and put it into an audio recording of them reading, which they're demonstrating their ability to read and to write, and they can share it with their classmates and with their parents, how much more effort do you think that they can put into it? Yes, they do. And I actually, another thing that's happened is that I'm creating all these tutorials that my students have seen me do. They go home and they want to create the tutorials themselves. So I actually had one of my students go during Christmas vacation, and he spent all this time creating tutorials, and then he came back and said, can I put it on my website? And so, really emphasizing the authentic audience. And also, I think kids need to be needed as well. So one of the things that happened with our class last year is that there's an organization called Edutopia by the George Lucas Foundation who came in and did a video about our class and our students and asked the students to tell about what they were doing so that they could use that video to teach other teachers as well. And I tell my students, and I told them today before I came here, we need your help because you are going to teach other teachers and educational leaders around here with your work. So we need you. And so that makes them so much more proud, and it really boosts their self-esteem. And of course, all the things that they're doing is presenting a lot of higher order thinking. So I said, other teachers are going to be learning from you. And of course, they're so proud, and I told them what I was doing today as well. And of course, all of these things I'm going to leave for your reference because you may not remember what I said today too. You can look at it later. So I'm also modeling as well. And the other thing we can do is we can collaborate with teachers. I'm working with another kindergarten teacher at our school, so it doesn't matter what age group you're doing. She's doing videos and I'm helping her with the kindergartners learning their letter sounds, for example. And then also, I think of double flip teaching. So now my kids, to demonstrate their learning, are making their own tutorials, demonstrating their knowledge in any topic area, and they love doing it. The other thing I've noticed is that even students who are not typically successful in other ways, this is where they are allowed to shine. So I let them make the instructional videos. Why should I use all my time? Let them participate. And I think also we can't underestimate kids. We need to modify. I have a video on here that you can watch later of a student, a first grader, teaching how to tie your shoes. So that's one more creative way that you can demonstrate your learning. And also we can collaborate with kids. Even if little kids don't know how to make videos themselves, we can use them and involve them in making videos. And it's so much more meaningful for them to be watching a video where they're in it. They love to see themselves. And then also we can just go and get their help and let them be their stars. One of the things that we're working on too, part of the Common Core Standards, is collaboration. We're doing some videos with our kindergarten buddies and my fourth graders where they're learning their sight words, and then the kindergartners are the stars, and we're using their voice and themselves reading the sight words so that later on when they can get a hold of those videos themselves to watch themselves and to learn the content as well. So there's lots of different ways and ideas to use it. And I thank you so much for letting me be here today, and I'm honored.
So that's why I flipped my introduction. I wanted you to see the most amazing things that are happening in classrooms because of teachers like Lisa and Nicole. They are fabulous. What happens is, I think when I listened to Mr. Santiago and was extremely touched by what he said, sometimes I think that we forget that technology can be one of the greatest equalizers. Every kid has a phone. And it's about being innovative and really using that power in our classrooms. So I can't tell you, when I take people around and they see what happens in classrooms like theirs, they're just in awe. Parents love it, kids love it, and I just want to thank them again for being so amazing and willing to share with everyone else. They have impacted so many people. Thank you.